We have an opportunity now to make America more competitive, and to keep jobs from being shipped offshore, and provide substantial relief to the middle class. There are a lot of people to thank. Chairman Hatch, Chairman Murkowski, all the folks you see behind us have all worked together as a team. And as you notice, at the end, there was not a single Democrat who thought this was a good idea. And so we're going to take this message to the American people also a year from now. With that, I want to turn it over to Chairman Hatch. He was here the last time this was done years ago, and got a chance to do it one more time. Orrin, come on up.
Well, thank you. I wish you hadn't mentioned I was here for the last time. Well, this is a great achievement. It's something that literally will help millions and millions of young people in our society and our society as a whole. I'm just very grateful to all these folks back here who made this possible and who worked so hard to make sure that we pass this bill. It's a great achievement, and I'm grateful to everybody here.
Lisa.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Orrin, thank you for your leadership on finance and in tackling Title I. Incredibly important for our country when we think about the growth opportunities that now stand before us. I was proud to be able to shepherd Title II. 5 pages of your provisions, sir.
Perfect job you did.
But a measure that has been an issue now for even longer than the last rewrite of tax reform. We've been trying to open the 1002 area for responsible oil and gas production for close to 40 years now. And we have come to a good place tonight. We recognize that we still have a little bit of process yet to go to get this over the finish line, but this is good for Alaska, but more importantly, it's good for the country. Combined with what we have done tonight with tax reform, this is truly a win for America.
Take a couple of questions, and then I assume you ought to have to file your stories and go to sleep. Yeah.
Bill, I just want to ask, the legislative victory obviously important, but you've gotten a lot of criticism for the process, the fact that the substitute amendment wasn't out until 8:30 p.m., the fact that things were written in the margins. Yeah. Is this how you envisioned passing such a large legislative
This was done through the regular order. The Democrats had plenty of notice. Chairman Hatch can attest to all the multiple hearings, markups, open amendment process. Everybody had plenty of opportunity to see the measure. You complain about process when you're losing, and that's what you heard on the floor tonight. Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the evolution from last December and over the summer when you talked about revenue neutral bill? There had been a lot of talk about that.
Yeah.
Isn't that? Why is that the case?
Yeah, I'm totally confident this is a revenue neutral bill. I think it's going to be a revenue producer. As we've said over and over and over again, the $1.5 trillion deficit, only to be filled, only requires us to grow 0.4% over the next 10 years. Goodness gracious, that's very much achievable. I'm totally convinced this is a revenue neutral bill, actually a revenue producer bill that's going to get America moving again. Good night, everyone. See you soon.
Good to see you.
Last night we passed, in the history of the country, the largest tax cuts and reform. And, you know, when we first went into this deal, I said, it's tax reform, because for years, not since Ronald Reagan has anything even come close. They haven't passed them. They couldn't pass them. They couldn't get the votes. And for years, I said, I wonder why they use the word reform, because nobody knows what reform means. Reform could mean your taxes are going up. And I said to my guys, I called everybody in. We had a meeting, senators, Congress, everybody. I said, we have to use the word tax cuts. Now, if you want to throw reform, you could say tax cuts and reform. But you have to use the word cut, because people don't know what reform means. Reform could mean your taxes are going up. In fact, a lot of people thought that. So for years, 30 years, 31 years, they've been using the word reform. So we use the word tax cuts. And last night, out of 52 Republican senators, 51 voted, and we ended up doing it, and we didn't need our great vice president to break the tie, Mike. We didn't need Mike. We didn't need anything. We voted. The Democrats left before the vote was even, somebody said started. Somebody said before it was over. I don't even care. But we got no Democrat help, and I think that's going to cost them very big in the election because basically they voted against tax cuts. And I don't think politically it's good to vote against tax cuts. But what we're doing is, if you look at it, we're going to grow the country. We're going to grow jobs. We're going to be growing everything. We have companies now that are pouring back into our country, even before this. We've just set records in so many different ways. We've set records with every conceivable, if you look at it, consumer confidence at a 17-year high, and I think it's an all-time high, consumer confidence. Business confidence, all-time high. Everything is like at an all-time high, including the big one. It's called the stock market, at an all-time high. So I was backstage taking pictures with people far greater than my business people. I love my business people, but they're called law enforcement people, okay? Do we concede business people? All my business friends. And one great gentleman came up and he said, sir, I want to thank you. I said, what did I do for you? He said, my 401k is up 40%. And I never thought of it. I tell you, he gave me one of the great campaign lines. It's called, how's your 401k doing? Because I can say this, if the Dems won the election, in my opinion, and I feel strongly about this, the numbers right now, we hit record highs every day. I think we had 66 times now where we've hit a record high since the election. 66 times. 66. But
we have the vote. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell proudly announced today that Republicans have secured enough support to pass their sweeping overhaul of our nation's tax system. Arizona Senator Jeff Flake was the key holdout, but he backed the plan this afternoon. A final vote could come as early as tonight or even tomorrow. What's your take on this, Rachel?
Well, first of all, this is great news. Not the best bill, but this is, you can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I think that, we've seen a lot of talk from the Bannon side of the Republican Party and others like, throw these bums out, let's start new, let's get new blood. I think this makes the case for why someone like Mitch McConnell, who understands how to navigate the legislative process, can cobble these votes together. This was not easy to do. I predict also that if they made the right changes, we may see that it will not go to conference, that the House may just vote on what they have there because everyone's afraid of going back to the Senate where it's tough to get those votes. So I think you might see the House vote on the Senate bill as is.
Dana?
And that's when how
Do
a
you
bill
think
becomes a law. Yeah, and I think it's possible because
Yeah.
I think they don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
They just want to
Get it
they just
done.
want to be able to go home and say we did this. And then I think that what will happen is that the Republicans who used to be concerned about the deficit will hope that the economic growth is what they hope it will be, and then basically the Republicans and the Democrats will have a debate about the results.
That's right.
But I do think they want to get to yes and get it over with.
And I think that the results already of Trump's economic agenda are doing well. I live in Wisconsin, as you guys know. I have brothers-in-laws and sisters-in-laws who are small business owners. They can't keep up with the orders. They're turning customers away. They're turning down jobs. Places that were the forgotten America. This is rural Wisconsin. Donald Trump has a lot of credibility on economics. He went out and sold this tax plan as it's going to help. I actually, though I wish it could have been more bold. I'm a big flat tax person. I wish we had gone in that route. But look, I think that this is going to.
I hope you're right.
I think it's going to.
I don't know anyone who actually understands it, and I've talked to a lot of people on the Hill. I talked to my accountant. What is this? No idea. I have really high hopes. I mean, there's only really one question from the last election, and that is how do you save the middle class, which is shrinking and dying younger and believes it's going to make less than its parents made. It's a disaster. And so everything the federal government does has to be focused on fixing that one problem. And I really hope this bill does that.
I don't think it does.
Well, I guess we'll see. I guess I am very bothered that that's not obvious going into this.
But when you bring when you let that money come back overseas and you encourage and incentivize companies to start building factories in America, that does make a difference.
I hope so. But then you've also seen companies making more money than any time in history, and we still have persistently high permanent unemployment, like 100 million people, and wages are still stuck. So I hope that's true.
So I agree with you, Tucker, which is a rarity in America, because I do think that this bill is missing how you deal with the middle class. And everything in this bill that was taken out of it, all the things they repealed, were things that benefited middle class, like, for example, you know, being able to deduct your student loan interest rate. But, Greg, your turn.
Oh, thanks. This is tax reform the way shaking up a can of Coke is Coke reform. This is not an overhaul. It's not reform.
I agree.
Whoever wrote sweeping reform needs their head examined. This is more liberal than it is conservative.
No, I disagree.
The top 1% provides 40% of the federal income tax revenue. Is this helping them or hurting them? It's hurting them. I think the corporate part is fine. I'm for that. The individual thing is a mess. It's a mess. And trying to sugarcoat it is hilarious. Good luck, but it sucks. And I think I agree with you. It's like I talk to people and I said it's like trying to untangle your iPhone earbuds. When you're trying to go like, what? And then you have to do this, and then wait, then you do this. Oh, so we're going to give you this, but then we're going to take this back. Oh, no, but then you can have that. That's what this is. We want something simple, as you said in the break, something bold. We have an opportunity to do something bold. We talk a great game. We talked a great game for decades. And then we get the opportunity, and what do? This oatmeal, this bland, pale oatmeal.
But you can't
Touchdown, America!
Greg, you cannot do the bold reform that you and me and all of us here want.
No, not me. Count me out.
Count him out. Okay, fine. But you cannot do that without the Senate changing the rules because they had to fit this
true.
If you were willing to cut
You just got to come to the table. Thank you. If you came to the table and worked with Democrats and Republicans, you could pass real reform. Ronald Reagan did it in the 80s.